So about, I don't know, half an hour ago, the account Real Donald Trump on Twitter ceased to exist very temporarily. Within a few minutes it was brought back. But interestingly, this was noticed by Dr. Jill Stein, who retweeted, "Please tell me at Real Donald Trump," as you can see it's not highlighted as a link, "is gone from Twitter forever. Hashtag Twitter ban Trump." And this was very quickly picked up on by Gab.ai, where they say, "Don't worry, we have an account reserved for you at Real Donald Trump." And that was very interesting because it really got me thinking that Donald Trump could do Twitter and by proxy a bunch of people who really hate him a vast amount of damage. He could really damage their careers. So Twitter is a valuable platform for left-wing journalists because they reply to Donald Trump's tweets and upvote each other's comments, because the tweet that when Donald Trump tweets something, the journalists are in a rush to get under the tweet with the top reply, which will be something castigating, demeaning, and extremely spiteful, because they're in hashtag resist and whatnot, and they hate him more than anything ever in the world, with people like George Takei describing him as the worst president ever, after, I think it was FDR, put him in a fucking concentration camp. So, these people have lost their goddamn minds. But the not being blocked is important, because when Donald Trump blocks someone, as they say here, it took them a few days to recognise how being blocked by the president on Twitter would affect them as a public intellectual. Because what she used to do is jump in and try to, get her tweet noticed and get followers out of that and raise her public profile. So Donald Trump effectively blocking everyone in the journalistic class by deactivating his account and moving to Gab would really do damage to these people's ability to project their message, and through totally fair means, because they're currently using foul means to, like a sort of gang harassment means to currently get their message out. If Trump moved to Gab, if he just tweeted out something like, in 24 hours I'm closing my Twitter account, I'm closing and deleting my Twitter account, you can follow me, and then a link to his Gab account, and you can follow me here, then millions of people would sign up to Gab and follow him there. Trump would find himself with a riotous applause from the traditional conservative right-wing Republican types who are already on Gab. Gab has a reputation for being like an alt-right or white supremacist neo-Nazi site, but it's actually not. It's actually a free speech platform, and because they're a free speech platform, they can't get rid of the neo-Nazis. It would go against the ethic of the company, as I understand it. But there are lots and lots, and these people are vastly outnumbered by the regular conservatives who are just enjoying like a regular conservative version of Twitter on a separate platform. So Trump would find himself with a riotous applause from a representative sample of his base, probably. And it would force the lefty journos to come over to a platform where nobody was supporting them. And I imagine their supporters probably would be less inclined to move to Gab, just because A, they probably hate Donald Trump anyway, and B, they don't really want to have debates with trolls again, like neo-Nazis and whatnot, the people they would consider to be trolls. So for them, it would be a real hassle. And not only that, if millions of people suddenly migrate from Twitter to Gab, that's going to cause real problems. So Twitter has had problems growing its active user base anyway. The monthly users now are 330 million users a month, which is quite a lot. But Donald Trump has like 42 million people following him. So that's a very large fraction of that overall user base is following Donald Trump, or potentially following Donald Trump. And so it would undoubtedly, I think, hit the Twitter stock, which has been low for a very long time, since the beginning of 2016, where it really hit its nadir. And it doesn't seem to show any signs of growing.
How do you feel about President Trump?
Twitter is now losing users in the US. It's growing worldwide, but it's losing out in the US. And I imagine that most of the people that follow Donald Trump are going to be in the US, or at least in the English-speaking world. So it's it's something that Twitter's been struggling with, and Twitter has long been known as a platform that is not profitable. And so I think that with one tweet, and to simply sign up to Gab, he could really do some catastrophic damage to Twitter as a company, and he would have done nothing illegal. And I don't even know if you could call making that decision immoral. It's just these would be the consequences. This sort of massive business problem that Twitter would have, and it would be because of the consequence of their own policies. I mean, it's long been rumoured that people replying to Donald Trump who support him are being throttled or censored. So the radical left-wing journalists are the ones who come top in the replies. And that's always how it's looked to me as well. I never see a conservative who's replied. Like, you'd think, I mean, the thing's got like, you know, a tweet might have 20,000 retweets. You'd think that hundreds and millions of people, undoubtedly, his impressions must be, and you would think a fair number of those would be conservatives who, you know, they might see the top comment, which might normally be, "You're doing great, Donald," or something like that, and they would like that overwhelmingly. But instead, it's always a far leftist or someone who's just voraciously going at him. I don't see it as any moral problem for him to say, well, I don't want to use Twitter. I think it would be completely understandable, all things considered. And so it would be a really interesting thing, and I think Donald Trump could really stick it to his enemies by doing it.